Like,
Da, da, theme song, theme song. Da, da, da.
I'm Tanya,
I'm Nikki.
and this is A Thousand Eyes in One, the podcast.
Podcast.
We are back again to talk about season 1, episode 8 of House of the Dragon, called Lord of the Tides. To find previous episodes, go to thousandeyespodcast.com. You can also find us on YouTube, A Thousand Eyes in One Podcast. And if you'd like to follow us on social media, we're on Twitter as Thousand Eyes One, Facebook and Instagram, A Thousand Eyes in One. If you're interested in our speculative fiction book club, that is Wine on an Empty Stomach on Instagram.
I cried like 3 times.
I felt really uncomfortable almost the whole time.
Oh, there's yeah. I cried like 3 times. I watched it immediately again, after it was over. And I remember at the end, I was just like, how does it just keep getting better? It just keeps getting better. Oh, it's so good. There was definitely like a level of tension, but whew, man,
I just felt just so much discomfort, not even tension. And I don't know exactly what it was, but from the very beginning of the episode, I
really
just felt really
interesting.
uncomfortable. And then when it came back on again right after, I started watching, and when it started again, I just started to get uncomfortable again. And I was
Really?
like, what is it about this episode that's just making me feel so
Oh,
like
you
creepy
know
crawly?
what? We have to go back and listen to the music
Yeah. Yeah,
because
sometimes that's what
Ramin
it is.
Djawadi really, really, really like it's like so subtle. It's so subtle, but the music plays such a big role in that. And I don't know, I think I was like just emotionally distressed already yesterday. So my nerves were frayed. Um, but yeah. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I'll go back and pay attention to the music because I really, really, really like this episode.
Yeah.
Whew,
It wasn't
yeah.
my favorite. I didn't dislike it at all. It's not my
Oh, I
favorite one
loved
though.
it. I don't know if it was my favorite. Actually, it might be my favorite one.
I think my favorite right now is still Rhaenyra's wedding.
Oh yeah. I was like, wait, which one? Yeah, the beat down.
Yeah. But that
Murder,
wasn't
murder,
the whole
murder, kill,
episode,
kill,
so I
kill.
don't know.
Yeah.
I'd have to do a full rewatch to decide. Like
Can't wait for
when
that.
it's done, I know. Back to the old days,
Back
right?
to the old days. That's what I was just gonna say. I was like, oh man, now we can do that again because I have not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me neither.
Yeah.
Well, we start out the episode finding out that Corlys is gravely injured.
I don't mean to laugh about it.
What?
I don't mean to laugh about it. But the guy, the maester's like, he's like, oh, they like cut his neck with
A
the
Corsair's
sword,
blade
with the
and
courser's
fell
blade,
into
and
the
then he fell
sea.
into a thing. And I was like, are they trying to find his final death? Shout out to our book club, Wine on an Empty Stomach, and the Gilded Ones. Hope you join us on October
Please read it.
16th.
It's coming up really quickly, so you don't have much time. But anyway,
Yeah.
The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna. Anyway,
Hmm.
yeah, I guess they were trying to find his final death. Is it, bleeding out from the neck? Is it drowning? Is it fever?
Yeah. Yeah. That's I was just like, oh, I'm just like listening to them describe it, especially because I just finished like my re-listen of the book, and I was just like, this who's this? Decca? Is that you? Yeah. No, but that's awful because Rhaenys is like, I haven't seen my husband in 6 years, and now you're telling me that he's at death's door potentially.
And he's still three
Gasp.
days away.
Oh
And
man.
she says to Vayman, like, can we not talk about him dying? Because he might live.
She's like, don't invite crows to my keep.
And it's crazy, not crazy. I'm not on Vayman's side, but I think Vaymond is right.
Yeah, I get it. I 100% get where he's coming from
Yeah, I
because
mean,
everybody knows.
everybody knows. It's like the Emperor's new
Everybody
clothes at this
knows.
point.
Yeah.
Like, are we really going to keep pretending?
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, it's like I 100% get where he's coming from, which is what makes it so hard.
Yeah.
Like, are
Yeah.
we all gonna just close our eyes and pretend this is not really happening? Because we know, and he says, I mean, what does he say? He's like the strong pups, the pups of how strong or whatever.
Yeah.
Whew,
But
man.
thinking about what he's saying as the next closest kin and that it's
Mm-hmm.
his right, it skips over the girls.
Yeah, it does. He completely ignores them because
And
he's got.
you would think that with Rainey's there, he would
Mm-hmm.
consider the girls as heirs because obviously Rainey's would. She did.
Yeah,
She could have gotten her wish
but he
to
already doesn't like Damon.
right. And
So
so
it's
he'd
not just like,
probably
oh,
feel
it's a
like it
girl.
was
Yeah.
Daemon ruling, and plus they don't have the Valarian name. They're
Mm-hmm.
Targaryens.
Mm-hmm.
Why doesn't Vaemond have a family?
I don't know why we haven't seen the, maybe he does and they're just not worth they're not worth mentioning, but we definitely haven't seen them.
I feel like they would have mentioned it if he was like, I'm his closest kin and I have true-born sons, or you know what I mean? I feel like it would
Mm-hmm.
have been mentioned somehow, or an offer of betrothal to somebody or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why he's not married. It would, I mean, yeah, he's just hanging around being a second son.
Yeah, it's weird.
It is strange. But I
And then,
think, but it was, I liked that he called out Corliss's ambition.
right.
He's like, he keeps dragging us into calamity after calamity, and he's right.
He's
He's
right. He
putting the
didn't
house
say
at
anything
risk.
wrong.
He's like, listen, he's like, I am the safer bet here. I care about my family. I care about the bloodline. And he says it more than once that, their bloodline is essentially going to be snuffed out through the male line if they let Lucerys, ascend to the Driftwood throne. But oh yeah, man, it's tough. It's tough because like I I don't it's like one of those things where you're just like, okay, listen, this is politics. So it's politics. You just have to do it. They're the more
There's too
powerful
many
house.
implications at this point of disinheriting Luke.
Yeah.
Because by disinheriting Luke,
Mm-hmm.
you're claiming you have to say that he's a bastard. By calling
Exactly.
Luke a bastard, you're now committing treason against the princess, and
Mm-hmm.
the king wants your tongue.
Yep.
And, and like Rhaenyra had said, it starts to
Yeah.
bring into question her own claim because you're not considering the girls and, again, calling her sons bastards.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
there's just
Whew.
too many implications. And I'm sure Rhaenys has thought that through.
I mean, but because what was really interesting to see is that he's making all the same arguments that she was making to Corliss too,
Right, right.
right? So they're coming back to visit, and she's like, "Oh man, like yes, bro, my my good brother, I know, but like this is my husband's will, so I'm going to see it through." Um, yeah. What a messy situation.
Very
And how
messy.
hot was Bella?
I love her already,
I was
and I
like,
can't
oh,
wait to see more of her.
yeah, me
And
too.
she has Sunfire, right?
I
Is her
think
a
so.
dragon?
Yes, I think she had the. Oh, my book was too far away, but I believe it was Sunfire. It was a pretty golden red dragon or something. Oh man. But and also he's telling her, he's like, because when Rhaenys this episode, I was like, rub, 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 rub,
Rhaenys,
rub, rub,
Rhaena,
rub, rub, rub.
Rhaenyra, like guys, come on.
Yes, it was driving me nuts.
George.
It was driving me nuts. Um, but she's like, my cousin the king can have your tongue for it. And I was like, when I watched it again today, I was like, oh.
And
But
then he says it's not the king ruling these
it's not the king
days.
ruling, it's the queen, right? And then I really like that they kind of like after that they cut back to her shot and just you see her sitting on the driftwood throne. And
Yeah, she looked
um
good on it.
she really, really did. But he tells her, he's like, listen, I don't need your help because I have help over there, and I know people who are going to take my side because they believe the same way that I do.
That would have been a very dangerous alliance.
Ooh.
for Rhaenyra.
Man.
I mean, that
Mm-mm-mm.
alone would have started war.
Yeah. No thanks.
Do,
Ugh.
do you want to talk about some other scenes and come back to Vaymond
Yeah, let's go. We'll
and the
come back to
petition?
him. I was
Okay.
really at first I didn't understand what I was looking at, and I was like, what is this blank scene? And then I saw like a little bit of movement. I was
Oh
like,
yeah, me
oh,
too.
you're shimmying down, and I was like, oh, but this is basically a pregnancy announcement.
Yeah.
That's what I do. But it was really cool to see. Like we've only heard about like the choosing an egg and stuff. We've never seen one harvested before. I guess is that what you
Yeah.
call it?
I
When
I
you
I
break
mean,
open a clutch? I have no idea what the
I
little
don't know. And you know what it
container
made me
in.
wonder? The dragons don't raise their kids
Guess not.
because they just take every single egg and it looks like it was already in a pretty warm spot. So
Hmm.
why take it out and put it in a warmer in your castle?
Yeah, I guess just to make sure that just to keep an eye on it, make sure nothing happens to it. But like, look at all the work it took to get there.
Yeah. And it's like, why did you go yourself?
Yeah, I don't know. It's really interesting. And that was cool to see because we never see that. And we got to see like, more of
I'm
uh
loving just getting more
Dragonstone.
dragons. Yeah, more dragons, more dragonstone, more dragon stuff.
When I first saw the cave, I was like, oh, are we going into the caves? Are we gonna see
Right,
like,
a
you
dragon
know,
lair.
a dragon lair? Are we gonna see like something from the Children of the Forest, like carving, like the thing that John ended up
Oh, like
showing.
runes.
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
Mm.
But we didn't.
What did you think about Jace's efforts to learn High Valyrian?
I thought it was so cute.
It was
But
sweet, right?
also, yes, I thought it was cute, but I also thought, like, wait a second, she hasn't been speaking High Valerian to him this whole time.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
isn't
like
he like
your
six?
mom and your
Like,
stepfather both speak it fluently as like their first language. Why aren't they speaking it around you?
yeah, that was really strange to me. Um, Especially now that they've been married, a long enough to have two other children
Six
and
years.
be pregnant with a third, you would think that, they would have caught him. So that was a little that felt to me like a little bit of a flaw in the writing, but I did like seeing him being so committed to it because he's
Yeah,
got so much to prove and he knows what he's up against.
because he has to be more Valyrian than like everybody else to prove that
Hmm.
he is who they say he is and not
Yeah,
who the others say he is, you know?
yeah, I
So he
felt
can't
that.
just be a normal prince. He has to be like the most Valyrian to ever Valyrian
Yeah,
to fight
exactly.
back against that brown hair and that pale skin.
Hmm.
You know, I was thinking that it would have been kind of interesting if they had made House Strong the black family and kept the Valarians white. And then she would
Oh.
have, right? And so you're expecting these like very pale skinned blonde children, and she gets like a couple of brown ones instead.
Ooh, I would have liked that.
I would have liked that because it would have been so, it would have made it so much funnier to me. Just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
looking at these like three brown babies and just looking them
Hmm.
dead in the face and looking at their black commander of the city watch who's always hanging out, and then she has these three brown babies and just
Yeah.
I just thought that would be so funny
It would
to
be, but
stare
I
them
guess.
down dead in their face and just be like, yes, these are his kids.
Hmm.
Recessive genes.
Yeah. Oh man, that would have been awesome. But maybe they felt like, maybe
It would
that's
have it would have been
too on
too
the
much.
nose.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it for the drama though.
It'd just be
Oh.
so wild to like sit here with this like obviously black child and
Hmm.
yes, he's their father. Like, what do you mean?
Like, duh. Yeah. Yeah.
But then we would have had, you know, a series of people calling these children black bastards, and nobody
Yeah.
wants
And
that.
maybe that's what they wanted to avoid because of, like that. Maybe it was just like I said, maybe it's just too on the nose and too obvious. They didn't want to open themselves up to that when they are already opening themselves up to it
Right.
by making
And
House
then also
Velaryon
this like
black.
this family's house just is basically there just to get murdered.
Hmm. Mm. Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sidestepping that, writers.
Yeah. It's like you gotta like go, you gotta
Oh,
play it through and they'll be like, all right, so what slurs will come out of this?
yeah.
Like, okay, you know what? Let's rewrite this.
Yep. Yep. Oh, messy.
Very messy. They get the news about Damon
Hmm.
and Rhaenyra.
It's so funny. It took me a second, like it took me my second watch to like get it. Well, first of all, I paused it and I like went back. I like scroll. I was like reading what it said, and that that Vaemon's going to has set sail at this moment. Blah 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 blah. But like the significance of the message wasn't lost to me. But like the fact that Bela had sent it was, and I was like, oh wait, that's her dad. She's writing her dad to tell him what's going on. And
Right.
for I think for a second I forgot that that was his child. Um,
Mhm.
and of course she would write him and tell him that. Um,
Right.
because that's pops.
And it seems like they like Rhaenyra
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and they like their cousins.
Yeah, like their cousins. I did enjoy seeing Rhaenyra and Damon talk about it. Damon's like, whatever, he doesn't care about he's worried about his house. And Rhaenyra's like, no, this is much bigger than that.
Right.
Like
She was
it's
right.
and it's much bigger than just like, oh, the legitimacy of her children, the legitimacy of her own role, but it's like, she's thinking about A Song of Ice and Fire all the while too. Um,
Yeah.
so she's got, and she had no choice but to go, but it was really cute to have that little tender moment where he's like, all right, well, all right, boo, I
Off
guess
to
we're
King's
going.
Landing.
There we go.
Oh,
Um,
patting her little
patting her
pregnant
belly,
belly.
but only to arrive and get no reception.
Yeah.
Nobody came out to welcome them.
Like they did that huge announcement to just dead silence.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, snub.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wait. And then they later said, like, did you greet or did you welcome them with a welcome befitting their station? And they're like, yeah, we did that. I was like, oh no, you did not.
Like maybe you meant the rooms, but certainly not the
Mm-hmm.
greeting.
Mm-mm.
And
And
then
so,
and then she walks in and the heraldry is removed and instead replaced
mm-hmm.
with religious symbols
Yep, seven-pointed stars.
because they wanted to put up Hightower
Yeah,
banners, but obviously can't.
they can't do that. They can't go a full Lannister on
Right,
them.
right. Oh, that
Oh
was
man,
crazy.
that was crazy. I wrote that she's giving Cersei, but that's because of her dress. It felt very
Mm.
like militarized. Um, very militarized. But I did enjoy that because we see them and we kept wondering when we're gonna see the green and the black dresses, and that was this episode.
Yeah. I was gonna say too, the last time we see Allison is when she's slicing Rhaenyra's arm
Mm-hmm.
and people are calling her mad and she's all embarrassed and now she's extra pious and I wonder if that's a result of that
Mm-hmm. I wonder, that might be.
that to make have like a comeback she decided
Mm-hmm.
to like just dive into piety and just
Mm-hmm.
because she's wearing a huge seven-pointed star around her
Yeah.
neck too and she's
Yeah.
dressed more modestly.
Mm-hmm.
For a large part of the episode her hair was even pulled back all the way.
Yeah. And we see her being taken seriously. She's basically running a small council meeting. Well, not as yeah,
Yeah, it
small
was a
council
small
meeting.
council meeting.
Yeah, she was running a small council meeting,
Which is
and
strange because it should be the hand
it
doing
should,
that
yeah. So why is Otto letting her run shit?
so that she can pass down the learning to Aegon, but like, he could do that too. And
Mm-hmm.
if they believe Aegon to be the heir, then he should be there.
He should be at the small council meeting, right? Um, but
He's
I
too
guess we'll
busy.
we'll get to him.
Mm, yeah. When they have the discussion about it, and Lord Beesbury is like, "What are you talking about?"
I was like, bees doesn't see. uh
And
I like
that
the how he's
obviously
committed
the
to it. He's like, no, 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 no. Why are we even having this
but he seemed like he
conversation?
was actually clueless though. Like it
Yeah,
doesn't seem
it
like
was so
he
cute.
was toying at it and being like, guys, don't talk about this." He was genuinely like, "Wait, what are you talking about? Why wouldn't it go to his son?" And
Yeah,
then they sidestep like, "Oh, he's not a sailor." And they're like, he's like, "So what?" But it doesn't mess with his claim. Like, what's going I'm like, "Oh my
exactly.
God, Lord
I
Beesbury."
know. I was like, well, yeah, he's just old.
I know,
Holden
I
wants to
know.
believe what he wants to believe, and that was really cute.
It was in a way.
Mm.
Um, we'll talk. I want to talk about Lord Beesbury more later in our spoilers. Back to Aegon, who last week we said we didn't like how these castle girls, I keep calling them castle girls, the serving girls and
Hmm.
castle maidens. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, we were talking about how they seemed so frightened of him, right?
Yeah.
And then this week we find out he's not just like pinching booties, he's a
Yeah.
full-on rapist.
He's a rapist. And it's not the first time. I was like, that's what I got, what I gathered from it. I was like, this is not the first time this has happened.
No,
This
she
is
had a
something that they're dealing
whole,
with it. She's
there was
got
a
like,
whole process.
there was a protocol, right?
Yeah, there's a whole protocol for it. Like she already had the bag of coin. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Talia knew to go get the tea.
Mm-mm.
You know, I thought
And they had the
before,
nerve to say that you found yourself in trouble.
yeah,
I was like, what?
because she's never going to admit publicly that her son
No,
is a
I know,
menacing rapist.
of course not. But it burnt my toast really bad.
Um, yeah, he is just
He's awful. He is awful.
horrible.
He's awful, awful, awful. And like we can I mean, I don't know how much you want to go into. I wrote politics, Sour Patch Kids, just because she was like really, really, really sweet and nice to her. And just like, listen, I know I'm sorry. Come here, my poor child. And just like gives her hugs. And then she's like, but you're gonna drink this tea and take this money and never fucking talk about this.
Yeah, here's some money, here's some abortion tea, keep your mouth fucking shut. I actually thought she was going to order her to be killed.
I did too. I thought what she was gonna do. She's like, when she said, I know that she won't, I thought, and she looked over to the side. I was waiting for Laris to come out of the wings and just be like, all right, come with me.
And bring, yeah, and somebody just take out her tongue or something.
Yeah. He was like calling in that favor. Um from long ago. But ooh, man, it was a really, really kind of crazy thing to just to like watch her just deal with it, you know? Um because you could see that it pained her, but you could also see that, this is absolutely necessary. She has to do this. Um, and it was interesting for me too, because like when she goes to his room and like wakes his lazy ass up out of his bed,
And why did we need to see his taint?
I
That was
really
too
didn't.
much.
It was too much for me. It wasn't even a cute, but it was
Whatever.
entirely too much. But it was weird because he he's saying a lot of the things that like she was saying before. Like she didn't want like being very vocal about, just like, I don't want this, I don't want
Right.
to do this, I'm doing everything that you're asking me to, I'm doing everything that and I was just like, here's her child having to kind of, let's quote unquote, suffer through the things that she had to do for the politics, for the game. Except he just happens to be a rapist and a drunk and
And
just
still sleeping on a low ass bed. You literally had to go up some steps to get to Viserys's bed.
Uh,
Why is he sleeping so low to the ground?
that's where he belongs.
I guess maybe it's so that he doesn't fall off and hurt
Maybe,
himself since he's always
maybe
drunk.
since he's always, yeah, hammered. Talking about was like a little bit of fun. He like barely even remembered. He's like, oh, whatever, just
He's like, what happened to Diana? No, he looked like he was like, who's Diana?
yeah. He's like, who? Yeah, poor girl,
Yeah, indeed.
poor
And
girl, and
poor
like her.
Helena.
Poor Helena. And I'm just like, also, but just also her just like, forcing the girl to drink the abortion tea, right? When she's frowning upon, what's going through her mind, because she knows that Rhaenyra drank the tea. There's just so many connections. And oh man,
Well,
so
she
much
talks
show.
of honor and decency again. And, she talks about honor and decency so much. And then her son that
Her
she's
son is a
supporting to be the
monster.
king is a monster.
Hmm.
He's a lecher and a drunk and a rapist. And
It
she's championing him to be king
echoes of a
instead of
Cersei.
Rhaenyra. Right. Instead of Rhaenyra, who she believed was indecent and
Hmm.
dishonorable.
But it's just like you can see, like she like when she verbally disowns him.
Yeah, you are no
And
son of mine.
it's like, she's had as much as she can take from it. And then she like goes and her poor daughter
He
got
was
to be
like, "Where's
married.
Diana? She's supposed to be dressing the kids." And I was like, "Oh my God, Helena has no idea what's happening around her."
Mm-mm.
It's just,
Maybe it's better for her that way.
why would Allison? This is how you know at this point the Hightowers are just delusional and power grabbing, because why would you want to give Aegon more power?
More power. You're
When you see
making
what
it's
he
a
does,
Maegor the Cruel in the making.
right? You see what he does with the little bit of power he has as the prince.
Yep.
Why would you want to put him in charge of the entire realm
Yeah.
other than
Mm-mm.
just their own power grab?
Mm-hmm. Because that's what Otto wants. But
Grow
like
up,
I don't but
Allison. Say no to Otto.
yeah, and I just like, you know, I don't know that they would like he's the type of person that once he if he were to ascend the throne that you would not be able to control him.
No.
Like he'd have to be killed.
He would be like a Robert Baratheon Maegor mix.
Oh God, I got goosebumps. That's such a horrible thing.
Cause like he has no interest in ruling, like
Mm-mm.
Robert. He has no interest in ruling. He just wants to be drunk all the time. And then like Maegor, he likes to go and rape.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead you have this guy who's probably never showing up to council meetings, letting his hand do all of the ruling, aka Otto,
Mm-hmm.
while he goes off and rapes girls who have no one to tell. Because
Yeah.
who do you tell on the king?
Mm-hmm.
You can't just go to his mother.
Nope.
Who do you tell? He's the king. There's nobody above him.
Oh no. Okay, actually it's coming up. Never mind.
Do you want to talk about the training yard? Because,
Yeah.
okay, every time I saw Aemond, I kept waiting for him to go, Harry Potter.
I like him with his eye patch. I think it's kind of fly.
He looks so evil.
I
Where
like
did
it.
they find this guy
I don't
that just
know.
looks evil?
He's very intimidating and super intense. And like every time I saw him, I was like, I bet this is what Damon was like when he was younger.
Mm. I get the feeling too that he really wants to be like Damon.
Mm-hmm. They had many moments throughout the episode, and I was just
Yeah,
like,
he seems
you.
impressed by him.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like Damon seems impressed by him too. There's like a mutual adoration here that's just like kind of on the low.
I kept
Mm-mm.
wondering why Sir Kristen was swinging that mace so hard.
Because
All
he
I
knows
kept
that he can
think,
take it.
but I kept thinking like, what if you do get one that connects with his head? Like now you've killed the prince. Now what?
Yeah, I was wondering too. I was like, well, if for like a mace, is there like a dulled
I
version
would think that
of
it's
these
not
practice
spiked.
swords?
I would think that it's
Um,
not spiked, but it's still hard enough to blast
give
that
a
shield apart.
concussion, right?
So
Um,
if it can tear that shield apart, I imagine it can cave in a human head.
mhm. Yeah. But
But
I
I
guess he
guess
was, and was funny. It was like when I was watching, I was like, can you imagine blocking one of those with a sword? No.
no.
Like where's the presence of mind that you need to have that kind of like instinctual response to it? Like, I'll block it.
That at that point, you just have to be the Witcher and like throw up a shield, because like a magical shield, there's just no
Right? Oh
like
man.
regular things are not gonna work. Like, what do
No.
you? Yeah, I guess your actual shield is the only thing to protect you from a mace. You
Yeah.
can't block a mace with a sword. But
So
anyway, I don't know
crazy.
what a practice mace is made out of, but
If you
it,
know,
it
let
does
us know.
it does show you though how terrifying Aemond is. That he fights so well.
He's so
He doesn't give a
fierce.
shit about tourneys.
Mm-mm.
He just wants to be a killer and a warrior.
Yep. Oh my
It's
God.
frightening.
It really is. And to like talk about I was gonna call them the strong boys. To talk about Rhaenyra's children is it was interesting to me is that here is essentially the third in line to the throne, and people are whispering about him, but like they're so anonymous
Yeah.
in the yard, right? They're blending in because they don't have the white hair of the Targaryens or the Valerians. And
Right.
it's just like they could have faded into the background and just some other just a stable boys who were
Yeah.
just there in the yard. Um and I know that's like something that they're fighting against. And like they must have been scared to like see Aemon in action.
Yeah. Well, it looked like at first they were excited to see people fighting.
Yeah.
They get closer and it looks like a really good fight. And
Mm-hmm.
then he turns around, they see the eye patch
And they're like,
and they looked a little scared, like,
oh.
oh shit.
But my question is, if Damon is your stepdaddy, doesn't he have you in the yard practicing too?
Right. That's what I wondered as well, because they, later on when they fight, it's so clear that they cannot fight.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what have you guys been doing? Like, was Harwin the last person to train these kids?
Yeah.
I
I'm so
mean, not
surprised.
everybody, not everybody who can
Sure.
do something well is good at training people to do it,
That's
you
true.
know? So
Yeah.
maybe Damon isn't a good
But they don't have a
teacher.
master at arms
I
who's
was
there.
just
Like,
gonna
come
say, but you would
on.
think he would have somebody who could do that and would train them well, especially knowing the things that they're up against in their future.
And if not you, at least Corliss being like, hey, you guys, you know what? Take this guy's my guy. Take him. Um, yeah, I think that was a little bit strange to me.
I mean, they have a lifetime of fighting ahead of them
Yeah.
if they're gonna be
Like,
forever
like
called strong boys.
exactly. You should think you'd like prepare them to like not only be like intelligent and well read and educated in these ways, but also to be able to hold their own with the steel. Hmm. Yeah, that was weird to me. I was gonna say, but even with Laenor as a father, like they should have had good training.
Right.
So uh it doesn't it doesn't make sense to me.
That meeting with Vaymond, Otto, and Alicent, what did you think about Alicent's reactions to Vaymond? Because I felt like she was being kind of fake.
I thought
And
so too.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean she's listening. Um sorry. She's like listening to him because she has to, right? But I
Hmm.
don't think that she was I don't know. I feel like maybe she was expecting Otto to take more control, but Otto was like kind of like passing it to her, but like, oh, you gotta be the one to say it. Um but it seemed like she was just humoring him. They don't
Right.
really
The way she, well, even the way she's just like, well, this is tough. It's like, no,
Mhm.
it's not. You're trying to find a way that this can
Yeah.
work so that you can oust Rhaenyra.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's
then again, the idea of them teaming up with Driftmark is just not good for Rhaenyra.
no. And then he's making promises already. He's like, oh, don't worry. He's like, the next what do you say? The next person to sit on the Driftwood throne will be in your debt,
Hmm.
and you'll have like, their might and the stuff to behind you. And she's just like, okay. It was yeah. Part of it, like I had to like go back and like actually think about that part because I don't have it in my notes for some reason. Um, but she, I felt like she was like listening. She was like, okay, you know what? It's like she was going through the motions. Like this meeting is a formality. Obviously, we're gonna say that we're gonna take your side because it's good for us. It's good for you. It'll strengthen our connection. Blah 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 blah. We're gonna sit here, but I'm going to sit and pretend to be objective.
Right, right.
Yeah. Sorry, that's what I actually meant because I was blacked out. Why don't I have notes on that meeting? I'm mad at myself for that.
I forgot what I was gonna say about it, so oh well.
Oh, I just wrote backdoor dealing. How about wants
I think she was trying to, her and Otto were trying to think of a way to support Vaymond's claim
without.
without starting a war
Mhm.
and
Okay, because
without
Otto keeps
angering
saying that war is
Viserys.
coming, right? Like war is
Right.
coming, war is coming. But also without like how do you do it without getting our tongues cut out?
Right. Because it's not that Rhaenyra has no supporters.
Yeah.
And then what do you do about Driftmark? You have Rhaenys, sorry, I'm trying to
Hmm.
remember which Rain.
Yeah.
Rhaenys, who's a dragon rider and is opposing this.
Hmm.
And Baela is also a dragon rider who I'm sure opposes this.
Yep. I mean, she said that she stands. I mean, she's all for her grandmother to take over.
Yeah.
She's like, she looks
And
quite comfortable in that seat.
right. And again, Vaemond isn't wrong. He's
He's
not
not.
wrong. That's the thing that sucks. Is like we're
It's
looking at
so
him like he's the
hard.
villain, but he's not
He's
wrong.
not. He's just he's trying to preserve his line, and
He
that's
is.
100% understandable.
And
Like I
he's
get
right
it.
that Rhaenys can't sit the Driftwood throne because she is Corlys's wife. She's not a Velaryon.
Hmm.
So he's right about that too.
Yeah.
If there's no one for it to pass to,
He's not right. He just like he got essentially in all this, he got played. Like he was on the wrong side of the game, and it's really unfortunate because nothing he was saying is untrue. And it's just really crazy to like see someone who is like the voice of reason getting stepped on no matter
over and
what.
over.
Right. And so he's like Ned Stark in it a bit. Poor guy.
The betrothal offer that Rhaenyra made to Rhaenys was a really smart move
She had no choice. Like that's the only way that she could have like swayed her to
because
her
then that
side.
way it can still pass down on Velaryon blood and you could
Mm-hmm.
still keep Luke's claim
Yep.
and give legitimacy to Jace's claim
Mm-hmm.
and then have Driftmark on your side.
Yeah. I thought like that was the smartest way to kind of appease everybody. And even like, if she and Vayman had a conversation, like, listen, brother-in-law or uncle, whatever that relationship is, like, okay, I understand you've got some questions here, and like you can't really be talking shit about my kids like that. But if we marry my kids to one of your nieces, then it's still Valerian.
See, it would still be Valerian blood, but it wouldn't be the name getting carried on.
Yeah.
And I think Vaemond would still have a problem with that because again, those girls carry the Targaryen name, and now they're gonna
Mm-hmm.
just carry the Targaryen name times two because they're cousins.
Yeah.
So it still
It
wouldn't be
could be.
House Valarian anymore, or that would end.
Whew.
Because what reason would Luke take the Valarian name?
Yeah. Quite. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
Rhaena is not royalty,
Mm-mm.
so why would the prince take his lady's name?
We're
There's
gonna have to
there's
find another way to distinguish all these reigns. Because my mind was just like, I'm like, it's like
yes.
stuttering to like put them in
Rhaenys,
the right level.
Rhaenyra, Rhaena. Yeah, it is hard. It is hard, and I mix it up a lot in my head.
Mm-hmm.
But through all of this, Rhaenys still thinks that Rhaenyra had Laenor killed
Mm-hmm. And how could she not? How could she not? That marriage, that I mean, like he's dead and they were married and then they were gone, right?
right.
Although technically, I mean, Rhaenyra did tell the truth. She's like, I swear I had nothing to do. I didn't
No,
I
I
didn't
did
order
not
his
kill him. I did not
I
order
didn't,
him to be killed. Yeah.
and I'm not complicit. And she's like, and I'm looking at her, I'm like, well, she's telling the truth. She's
Look,
telling the truth. She's telling the
right.
truth, but Rhaenys is like, listen, you're gonna burn. I'm going to have nothing to do with it. I'm gonna watch from a distance, and I don't care what you say. And then,
And I believe she really did love Laenor. She
yeah,
did
oh
love. I
yeah,
believe she
she
did
did.
love him,
She let him live his
just not
life.
romantically.
Yeah. I mean, she had him fake his death so he could run away and be happy.
Right. I mean, it's not like she didn't have her
No,
own
she didn't have
reasons,
ulterior
but
motives, sure, but like she could have killed him. She could have had him killed. Um, and been the monster that people are, whispering about, but she didn't. So yeah, I know. I believe that she did love him too. I wrote here, girl, they're coming for you. Sorry. Right. This is like, nope. And she makes a good point. She's like, is it generosity or is this desperation? And she's like, doesn't matter. Like, no, it doesn't.
it doesn't.
It really doesn't.
But there's a chance to both get what we want
mhm.
because
Man.
she did want um Bela to
Mhm.
take over, and now Bela will instead be the next queen in line,
Mhm.
and Reina will take over, and it's exactly what she wanted. They just have to
Yeah.
marry bastards to do it.
Yeah. And
But they're
we've
royal
already seen
bastards.
she's willing to play the game, you know? She said it to Vayman. She's like, "Hey, all
And
right."
with Corliss gone, she could have easily done what she wanted to do, but
Mhm.
she stood by Corliss.
Gone and on like possibly the brink of death.
Right. So she could have agreed with Vayman since those were her feelings 6 years ago,
Mhm.
but she stood by Corliss's wishes, which says a lot about her.
Yeah.
She's the most honorable one here, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's talk about
Mm.
this. His was the song of ice and fire. I will say I don't like this part of it. The way they
The
keep talking about the song of ice and
Oh
fire and
yeah.
the
I mean, I feel like it's super flimsy at best.
yeah, that Aegon
I'll
had
allow
dragon
it
dreams.
because I like the show and
Yeah.
I like it all generally. But like from the beginning when they introduced that element into it, just to like tie the two series together, I was just like,
Oh, you could hear my
"Ah."
eyes. You could hear my eyes roll.
Yeah. I was like, "Oh God, no, no, no." I was like, "All right."
And so he
Grudgingly,
yeah.
I let it, but yeah.
And so he believes that Rhaenyra is the prince that was promised.
Hmm.
He's a few hundred years too early.
Well, can we go back and just talk about Viserys?
Oh my
Oh,
God, Viserys's face is a nightmare.
he looks like the Song of Ice and Fire.
He's completely falling apart.
Oh my, when
Like,
I saw him, I
what
was
does
like, he
he
looks like one of the
have?
whites. He looks like one of
What
the
does he
whites.
have? What illness does he
Mm.
have that's doing this to him? Because it
Leprosy?
was different in the books. No, they would have known it was leprosy. And whatever it is isn't contagious. He
Yeah.
would have passed it on to Allison a long time ago.
Mm.
Like,
Mm-mm.
why is his like was it more cuts on the throne? Because if it was, why did you keep sitting there? And then it's like, why on your face?
Yeah, it just like he is a completely rotting, and you can see that they've got like some kind of incense going at all time,
Yeah, which
like
means he
throughout the
probably
entire. He
smells.
smells horrible.
His
Um,
teeth are rotting. He's
it's just
like, what caused them to have to take out his eye?
his
And part
arm
of
is gone.
his arm is gone, part of his cheek is rotted away, his nails are bleeding around the edges
Mm-hmm.
and they've
Oh,
darkened. It's like, what don't at this point, what don't you have? Do you remember that episode of The Simpsons when Mr. Burns goes for a checkup and they tell him he has every single disease
yeah,
known to man, and including like ectopic pregnancy, and
yeah,
it turns out they're all balancing it turns out they're just balancing each other out, keeping him alive.
yeah.
That's what that made me think of. I'm
That's
like, you
funny.
have, except for the balancing out and keeping him alive part, I'm like,
Yeah,
you have every possible disease except maybe grayscale.
yeah. So awful, so awful, and you can see that he's in so much pain. Like,
And also his
oh,
mind is slipping largely because of the
mhm,
milk of the poppy, but
yeah.
also just in general, his mind is slipping. And when he says to Otto that he wants to have supper, and Otto's like, "It's
Oh,
morning,
and
sire," and he's annoyed,
he's like
right?
you. He's like, "You idiot! I know it's morning. I meant for later."
Right.
I really like that part. I was like, Listen, I'm not as far gone as you think.
Poor
I'm not as far gone as you
Taravangian.
think." Bing. Stormlight. I need to like find a chime for that.
Stormlight Archive reference. He's Taravangian on his bad days.
Yeah. It was really it was hard to I think I cried when during that scene. I think that was the first time that I
When
cried
he
during
was
that
sitting
episode.
up and he was just like, oh,
Oh my God.
it's
And
like,
he's just like
oh,
everyone's uncomfortable because they're so shocked by the state of him. And like it's like you
they're
like
probably
imagine like
saying,
wow, you're
how
looking
is he alive?
your dad is like looking like this and your brother is looking like this. And like you can see that it was really hard for Damon to take, you know.
Yeah, no,
It was
nothing
just
snarky. Remember,
oh
he made a
man.
joke about his looks 6 years ago.
Hmm.
Nothing snarky this time.
No. Oh man. It was just like, but and then like on one hand, it's like, his mind is like, he's a little drunk and highly medicated on milk of the poppy, but he's Viserys is still in there. He's making jokes about, about about his namesake. He's like, so it's name
That's a
fit for
name
a
fit for a
king.
king.
It
Yeah.
was so cute that he got to meet these children, and just that moment where they're just, oh God, it made my heart was just, yeah, I cried. I cried. But I was glad they had that moment alone with him without everybody else there, where they got to just kind of see and come to terms with the
I
fact that this is what's happening to him. He's not, and he says it later. He's like, I'm not long for this world. So can we
I
all just get
hate that they
along?
had to bring up the petition like right away too.
Right away. And it's like, and it's funny because you could see that Rhaenyra was a little bit reluctant to do it, but Damon's like, no, 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 no. We have to talk about this now. I know, like, look, I know that you're in a really, really pitiful state. And the last thing we want to do is talk about politics, but that's why we're here, because things are moving that you don't know about because you're in this room rotting,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to know the state of affairs. And they had to push for it. He had to push for it, but as much as I hate it, I think it was absolutely necessary.
Yeah, it was necessary because when else were they going to get a chance to talk to him? But
Hmm.
um, it just seemed distasteful, I guess.
Yeah.
And I noticed Damon smelling the cup, to see what the
Oh
hell he's
yeah.
on.
He passes it to him and he smells it, and then he looks at Rhaenyra and he's like, oh, we're gonna talk
Like
about
he's
what the
on
fuck.
that shit.
Mm-hmm.
They got my boy Viserys on the horse.
Oh man. And it made me remember when you asked a couple episodes ago if I thought that Otto was poisoning him, because I was like, no, not poison, just drugged up. But like, ooh, I mean, really, what does he have? Because, good Lord.
I mean, we know he has an opiate addiction now.
Yeah, poor guy.
That was like
Ooh.
the moment it wears off, he's like starts dying out loud again.
Mm-hmm. So much pain. I felt so bad for him. Uh,
Let's get into
ooh. Let's talk about Allison, and before we even go there,
okay.
to where Allison and Damon and Rhaenyra are talking.
Oh,
When
right.
she comes back and like greets them, and he's like, Damon's like, you got him drugged up. And she's like, no shit, guys, it's really, really bad.
And she has a
It's
point. They
really
haven't
bad. They
they
haven't
haven't
been
been
there.
there. They
They
don't
haven't
know what
seen,
it's like.
exactly, they haven't been there on the day to day. They don't know like how much he's actually suffering. um and it sucks. But Rhaenyra, or what was Damon saying? He's like, okay, well, yeah, his mind is like, on the milk of the poppy, but that doesn't explain why there are these emblems of the faith everywhere,
And
right?
that their heraldry has been taken down. Not just that she's adding emblems of the faith, but that she's
Mm-hmm.
removing Targaryen symbols.
Right. And she's like, oh, blah, 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 higher authority. And I'm like, a higher authority than the Targaryens?
And you would
Hmm.
think um that she would keep it up considering she wants her son to be king and he is a Targaryen.
Yeah, but he's also a monster.
Well, yes, but she
So
wants him
maybe
to be
she's like, we need
king.
all the help we can get.
She needs to call the stranger on his ass.
Yeah, she really does.
You want to talk about which gods can help her.
Oh man. Oh Lord. Okay.
The petition.
The petition.
This was like the best legal drama I've ever watched.
Mm, so good.
Because usually on Law and Order, nobody gets their head cut in half.
The way that I gasped.
Oh my gosh. I was like, my eyes were like saucers. Um,
I still, like, I got up out of my chair and I like walked to the back of my couch, and I just stood with my hands on my head, just like,
well, again, Vayman wasn't wrong. So there's
no.
that. I fear he's right.
Ooh, can I
But
just make a minor note?
uh-huh.
Did you notice the difference in the audio? There was like an overdub in there, and it was like there was a really bad edit. It was distracting to me. Sorry. Go
No,
listen
I
to it.
don't think I was listening closely like that.
It's during Vamon's speech, and I heard it for the first time, and I was like, oh God. And then I heard it this, like, when I watched it again. It's just his. I think it was like maybe from two different takes, but whatever.
Mm.
Nerd shit. Nerd
I'm
shit.
gonna have to I'm gonna have to check for that.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that although Vaymond is right, he just went about it all wrong. He
You
was
can't come to court.
way too out of pocket, way too dramatic, and just so angry. And it's like, those feelings are all understandable, but
Yeah.
that's not gonna work for you here.
Mm-hmm. Like calling him a bastard and everything but name,
And
like
then
walking
eventually
around and
just,
then eventually just saying it
and I mean, shouting it in his face too, and then
in
telling him.
court.
At that point, I was of two minds. Either Vaymond realizes this shit is not gonna win. I might as well just go ahead and say this shit because I'm about to die.
Mm-hmm.
Or Viserys isn't gonna do shit. He's all mouth.
Yeah.
He's
It's
gonna
possible
he's gonna
he's seen
exile
Viserys
me.
through the years
Right.
over
He's
and
like, oh,
over
he's
and
just
over
gonna
again.
exile me, and who cares? I don't give a fuck if I'm exiled. I'm still gonna fight for, my seat.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, Damon rolls up behind him and
Yo.
takes a little off the top.
It's I don't usually go on social media after episodes, but like I couldn't help us. And then after I watched it the second time, I like couldn't help myself. I was like, I have to see what people are saying. And like the memes were delicious. 2 scoops, please. But also I have to say that like we hear all of Vamon's argue, we hear Vamon's like his case, right? Allison's listening, Otto's on the throne, like, hearing his petition. And Vamon's just he's saying all the things that we know to be true. And after that, we get Allison about to talk, and she's like, not Allison, sorry, Rhaenyra about to plead her case, and she's like, blah blah blah, and then the door opens and we get Viserys dragging his half dead ass into the court,
Oh,
and I was like, oh my god, I cried there too, because it was so powerful, and it made me think that we need to do an episode on the top 10 favorite entrances into that room
I mean, two of them are already from this show and this
from this
season.
show, right? I was just like, yes, because I think that would be really a really fun episode,
That would be
because
cool.
there's just that whole moment, the doors open and it's him.
So like a top 10, including Game of Thrones then.
Yeah, oh, it's Tywin
Because
on the
there's
horse. Come on. Yes.
because yeah, I was gonna
100%.
say we only have 10 episodes with this, so
Yeah. Yes. It's no, it's like for the series, like for the two series, yes. Favorite
okay.
entrances
I'm
into the
into
throne
it.
room. Yeah. But yeah, just like
What did you think of Viserys's Phantom of the Opera mask?
I think that he had to do something. He is the king,
I
and
mean,
he's not coming to court with his face off.
before we knew what was under it, I was thinking, why didn't he just wear an eye patch? Because I had no idea what was going to be
Mhm.
underneath that
It's
mask.
like you could kind of see hints of it, like when he glanced to the side, I was like, well, this something is obviously like
Right.
decayed from that side, right? And I was like waiting for the bandage to slip, maybe scare the kids a little bit. But
Well,
it
there
didn't
was enough
happen
to
there.
scare them already.
Oh man. Uh but I liked the gold mask. I think that, you are the king. I mean, everybody knows that you're not doing well. But what else could you do? What else could you do? You don't want to scare people. And you're already coming in like with one arm, limping and smelling awful, looking, and it's just that whole scene, his whole entrance, like walking up and then climbing, and then the crown fell off, and I was just
That
like,
part was great when Damon went to go help him.
when he went to help,
And then he's saying like, no, I said I'm fine, and then realizes it's
it's
Damon.
Damon, and he
That
was
was a
like,
really nice moment. I saw somewhere,
mm-hmm.
I can't remember where, but apparently the crown falling off was actually
Was
an
an
accident.
accident, yes, and they
Yeah.
ran with it, and they
And they, yeah,
kept
they
it.
just went with it, and it was just great. And I think it was really was great. Like his
I thought
crown
it was
slips off, and
awesome.
here's Damon to put it back on his head.
I was hoping that Damon would kneel afterwards, but I think if it was scripted, they would have had him kneel. But because it was spontaneous,
Mm.
yeah, yeah.
I kept thinking
I-
too, why doesn't he have a taller cane? Like the way he had to slump his shoulder down to use it. I'm like, come on, guys.
yeah,
Why doesn't he have a
yeah,
taller cane? And how come nobody's invented a chair with wheels on it yet? You have wheels on other
yeah.
things.
On
Like
other things, yeah, it's
nobody thought to put the idea together. I mean, I know there's lots of stairs
yeah,
in the castle,
but
but just carry
yeah.
him. They carried him on
Yeah.
another chair. Just put
Oh,
wheels on one at the bottom of the steps. I don't know.
so crazy. Like my emotions were all over the place watching him come in there. And it's just like, and I like if honestly, if I were Otto, I would have been suspicious the moment that he was like, no milk with the poppy did it today, please.
Right.
I would have been like, wait, why not?
And
You
Otto
you
was
never say
real
no.
comfy on that throne.
Mm-hmm.
He was real comfy and he got all shocked seeing the king
Yeah, I mean, they all were.
because
They
you
were
know
just
how he
like,
was going to rule. And it was,
exactly.
he claims to speak with the king's voice, but he absolutely was going to make a ruling that the king wouldn't have liked. And Vayman thought he had it in the bag.
He really did. I like that. I mean, I sent you the picture of his face that moment that he walked in.
Yeah,
And
like
he's
he's looking at Otto like, what the
he's
fuck,
like,
dude? You said he wasn't
yo,
coming.
y'all knew about this? Yo, what is this? The fuckery.
The
Oh man.
drama. And it's
Yo.
like Vayman. Okay, yes, you are right, but go start a war like a normal person. Like, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm. Because I mean, I
Well, because
think
he
that
doesn't have a dragon. So starting a war
oh
with
yeah, yeah,
Rhaenys
that's
would
true.
probably be a bad idea.
Yeah.
She'd just kill him in the courtyard, and that would be that.
Done. Patty done. Oh my God. Yo, yeah, that's like, I don't know. I wrote that's some king shit, truly.
And
Him
it's
walking
it's
in.
meaningful that he put himself through all that
All
pain
of that,
and just
yes.
dragged his body up those steps to the throne just to
Mhm.
reassert Luke's inheritance and also Rhaenyra's place.
Yeah. And I
It's
think
like
what
once
also
again he's telling you this is what I want.
exactly.
And as the king, he could legitimize those boys anyway.
Yeah.
So, I mean, by him saying that they're her true-born sons, in a way, he is legitimizing them.
Hmm. And it's just man, that scene is so amazing because like they cut to like everybody's faces and you get to see everyone's reactions. And I think one of the most interesting one was Allison. And she's like, what the fuck are you doing here? But also like she knows how much pain he's in. She
Yeah,
knows how much it's costing him to do this.
yeah.
She's got like, oh man. Oh, my note was you cannot have my pain. And the next
You
step, that's
cannot
the
have my pain.
most important step you could take is always the next one. Boom. Oh man. And then I wrote that they've been outfoxed. But why
Just
was Egon laughing?
because this is what I think. Aegon sees his mom and his grandfather plotting, right? And then he sees the king show up and dash their plans. And he probably just thinks, huh,
Mm,
like that's just funny. Like, look what happened now. You know what I mean? I
yeah,
think
yeah.
because
He's like, oh wait, so it's not gonna be he doesn't want it, right?
he doesn't want it. He doesn't take any of this shit seriously.
Can we
And
talk
so
about the Egons who don't want to be king? Wink
I
wink.
don't want it.
I don't want it.
That's how I feel about your prequel. I mean, your sequel. I don't want it.
No.
I'm
Yeah.
just saying, I don't.
Mm, yeah.
So, Damon, one
Damon.
swing of Dark Sister. I am so sad that they haven't like talked about Dark Sister.
Me too. Me too.
I would
Maybe
love to
next
know if
season.
maybe we find out, yeah, eventually what happened to Dark Sister, because as of now, we don't know where it is.
Yeah.
But I'm like, come on, guys, we gotta talk about this sword. Like
Yeah.
he just sliced through somebody's head with such precision that he was able to leave the tongue
To leave the tongue.
and
And
told
he
him
had
he
one
could
of
keep
those
it.
like super villain lines where he's just like, yeah, keep it.
And
but
everyone was pretty chill about you know, somebody getting murdered like that.
they I mean he called them a bastard in front of the entire court.
And he called
Viserys
his wife a
and
whore.
he called his wife a whore. So he called the king's daughter, the queen to be, a whore in front of her father and her, lord husband. Um, and they both drew. Viserys is like, I only have the one arm, but like I'm coming for you.
And
Oh man,
and Damon, when he said really quietly, say it, he was
say
just
it.
asking.
Oh,
Oh, I would have
I loved
that's
it.
when I would have gotten scared.
Yep.
And I think maybe that's the moment Vaemon knew, you know what, I'm gonna die anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Might as well get this out
Yeah.
because he knows Damon will kill him. So maybe
Mm-hmm.
that was it. He saw
Maybe.
Damon telling him say it is like the warning, like, okay, these are gonna
Mm-hmm.
be my last words then.
Yeah. And it's like not only is he the one who's like reconsidering and quickly assessing the situation, but Rhaenys too. As soon as she sees Viserys, she's like, okay, wait a second. I'm gonna have to rethink my position because he's my cousin. And I know he's gonna say something to me.
Mm-hmm.
How could he not?
Mm-hmm.
And he says like you're the one who's married to Lord Corlys. Who would know better than what he wants besides you? Tell us what he wants. And she's like, okay, well, what had happened was
I
Rhaenyra
w-
said,
I wonder, yeah, right. She agreed to the betrothal right then and there.
mm-hmm.
And I wonder if there's been tension between her and Vayman before.
I imagine there must have been.
Like maybe they just already didn't like each other.
Actually, I don't know. I don't know. I know that unless it was just like, I can't stand your family type vibes.
Mm,
Your family's trash and they're like always causing trouble, like because we already knew that Vayman didn't like Damon from the Stepstones,
right.
you know. Maybe, but I don't know that they actually I don't know that there was an actual dislike between them. I think that I mean and the reason I say that is because we see Rhaenys sitting there in the room with the Silent Sisters, watching them, kind of minister to his corpse, and it's just like how I felt like she felt that she owed it to him because she could have saved his I don't know if she could have saved his life, but I think that she could have like
Reined him in, maybe.
reined him in a little bit or
I don't think she
maybe
would have
argued
been
his
able to.
position or whatever, like not with Viserys showing up. Viserys showing up changed everything, um but I think that she owed it to him and she owed it to her husband to be there, um
Hmm. And I mean,
because
I think the last thing she'd want to do is go against her husband's wishes as he's dying.
Mhm. Yeah. And it's funny, it's not funny, but when the Archmaester comes up and he's like, don't look, it's bad luck. And she's like, I have seen death so much. Like, come on. Her brothers have died, her dad died, her parents died, her children are dead. Like, what's one more dead body?
Do you remember what happens to Vayman in the books? We don't have to talk about it right now. We can do that in the spoiler
I
or just
don't.
mention it. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's something I kind of remember, but I don't want to
Mhm.
compare it just because I don't want somebody who hasn't read them and doesn't, it's not really like a spoiler, but
I have no idea what that says. This right there. What the fuck is that? I
I
think it says
couldn't tell you.
maybe it says Corliss.
But yeah, it's not
I have
really
no idea.
it's not really a spoiler. It's just anyway, whatever. We don't have to talk about it.
Okay.
Why did Helena cover her ears instead of her eyes? Did you notice that?
I did, and I laughed.
It made me think, did you see the newest Ghostbusters with the women?
I haven't seen it yet. Wait. Yes.
Do you remember when Chris Hemsworth's character, something's really loud and he covers his eyes? That's what
Yeah.
that made me think of because I was like,
Mhm.
why is she covering her ears? Nobody's
Yeah.
screaming.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's
I
so
wondered.
weird.
She is weird, but then she had. You know what I was trying? I think I went back. I have to go back to my notes. We can talk about that in a little bit because I was trying to remember if anything that she said from the last, like we're like kind of tracking her
Oh, yeah,
prophecies,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
If anything that she said from the last time came true, and I went back and I listened to it because she said the hand in the room. Hold on. Notes. I'm glad I didn't erase them. Oh, hand turns loom, spool of green, spool of black, dragons of flesh, weaving dragons of thread. Um, and then my question was, does this mean that they're creating Targaryens who are not actually Targaryens by dressing them up as Targaryens for Jace, Lucerys, and Joffrey? I don't know. because technically they're only Targaryens in name, but not by blood, right?
Someone in the comments had said that weaving dragons of thread could also mean the people fighting for Rhaenyra's side, like referring to the banners.
Oh, I like that.
I can't remember
That's
who
a
said it, but if you're
possibility.
listening, shout out to you.
Yeah, because what she says now in this one is like, beware the beasts below the boards.
Yeah, all right, let's get into the supper then. The Last Supper.
Last Supper. Man.
I felt so bad for Viserys because we all know what's coming. And he remains, after all this time, after everything that's happened, he remains so optimistic.
He just wants a happy family life.
That's it.
That's it. His parents had a good marriage. His brothers loved each other. He came from a happy family. All he wants is to have a happy family.
Happy family, a peaceful realm.
Oh, man.
And he just cannot have it. But largely, I think, due to his own indecisiveness.
That's his pride. I wrote something later. I'll have to find it later. But I wrote something about it's just like, no matter what he did, everything that he did, it just like drove everybody apart. Like every action that he made had the opposite effect that he intended.
And, I understand why he didn't want to, but he never chose a clear side.
Up to his death.
Yeah.
We'll get there. But
and
yeah.
I get why he didn't want to. How you shouldn't have to choose between your wife and your daughter. But at some point you have to put your foot down. If you're gonna say Rhaenyra is the heir and that you consider her children to be legitimate, well then you're gonna have to put your face down for put your foot down and make a decree or something. Yeah. Because it's not getting through to your wife. Like it's not getting through her skull. It's not getting through Otto's skull.
I mean, and the fact that like up until this point, nobody has died for like saying the wrong thing, because they've talked about it in their cups.
Can you imagine the message it would be if he had taken Alicent's tongue?
Ooh, yes, that time, yeah,
that would have been crazy. Like, do they stay married?
Again, I don't know.
Yeah, do you stay married after your husband takes your tongue out for speaking treason against his daughter?
I mean, I think you have to, because like,
can you imagine writing that into Dear Prudence? Dear Prudence, my husband took my tongue. Or like Reddit, like, am I the asshole? Am I the asshole? I cut out my wife's tongue for disparaging my daughter.
But I won't let her divorce me. Oh man. Yeah, like what do you do? But like what do you, I mean, I guess they're the high towers. She's rich. She would have gone home and like lived a life that was fine.
And it's not like he's gonna remarry.
Yeah, no.
He doesn't need any more heirs.
Sure doesn't.
I don't know if at this point, if he could even make any, it would probably kill him. But then what would Otto and the rest of the high towers and their banners do? Their bannermen, rather. Jeez, it's like everything leads to war. He can't make any move. Every move is going to lead to war.
It's awful.
And by him not making any moves, all it does is prolong it. But the war is still going to come. A war, some kind of war is going to come.
And I mean, for as much as we hate Otto, like he's right about that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's war coming no matter what.
Yeah. And he takes his mask off and he just bears his soul. And and I think it was right. He was right to say that. He's like, as much as I love you, seeing you all here really makes me sad because I love you guys and you're all assholes to each other.
Everybody has been fighting constantly.
So exhausting. And I'm like
20 years.
Like constantly. And like, I'm in so much pain. You guys, I'm dying. Look at me. I'm dying. I am dying. Just give me this one night. When he took
his mask off and like everyone was just trying their best to just look at him. Did you notice? It seemed like they were like straining to look at him.
Except for Aegon.
Yeah, Aegon was just openly uncomfortable.
Yeah. He looked thoroughly disgusted.
He is the worst. Just the worst child. And out of pocket, as usual.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even make notes about it, but like, yeah. He was just all through the dinner being absolutely rude.
Like, really?
and
You're gonna make
disrespectful.
jokes about sleeping with Reina, or was that Bela? I can't remember which one it was.
I think it was
Bela.
Reina.
It was Bela because he
Was
was
it Bela?
sitting, yeah, because he was sitting next to Jacaerys, and Bela's the older sister,
Mm,
and she was disgusted by him too.
yeah. And she told him, like, watch out.
I thought it was cute how Jace was like, "Watch your mouth in front of my betrothed." Like they've been together. Like
yeah.
have they both just been secretly dating all this time anyway?
I think they've loved each other forever. It was really cute how he scooted his chair next to her too when they sat back down. He's like, "Whoop."
Yeah, that's sweet. That was really sweet. Oh, I miss being betrothed. It's such a romantic time in your life.
Aw.
Um, when they did the toast, I thought to myself that Rhaenyra is once again being the bigger person and apologizing to Alicent.
But I feel like I felt like she meant it because like to me the summary of that toast was, girl, I don't know how you did it. Like you are
Oh,
actually taking
I
care.
do think
You're
she
like taking
meant
care of
it,
my dad, you know? I
especially
mean,
now that she sees the condition her father's in,
mhm.
and then seeing how Alicent helped him when, it was time for him to get off the throne and all of
Yeah,
that. I do think she was sincere about that. But I just mean that we haven't had a scene yet where Alicent stood up and just
right,
apologized to Rhaenyra for her behavior
right.
unprompted.
No, we haven't. And I
It's
don't know
always
that.
Rhaenyra who steps up.
But I mean, it's her. I feel like it's her duty to do that. She has to be the bigger woman if she's going to be queen.
She's gonna be a good queen.
Mhm.
And then,
And
oh,
all and beside, but even like taking that aside, it's like it's what her dad wants,
it is what
and
her
he
dad
and he's
wants.
dying, and she's taking that into consideration, and she was like, you know what, I I just need to make the man happy, and I know this will make him happy. That's all. Like it's the least that I can do to give him what he wants.
When
Um,
Alicent said, "You'll make a fine queen," did you catch
mhm.
that quick look of surprise in
From
Otto's
Otto,
eyes?
yeah, 100%.
He was like, "Huh?"
He's like, wait a second, wait, this is not what we planned. What do you mean? But it was a good toast, and she accepted it. She was gracious, and it was just I really like and the next scene made me cry because he was just happy at the table. It reminded me of my dad. Like this, my dad, his favorite thing in the world is when we are all home. When all
Mm.
the children are home, it doesn't matter. Like he hates when we fight a lot. He hates that shit. Um, but we're older now, so we mostly get along. But like it's the happiest time. He's just walking around the house. He's like smiling at everybody. He's just looking at everybody with like these his dimples are all out. And it's just like it reminded me of that. It's like the happiest he is when everyone is at home and it's getting along. And maybe that's why it made me cry. That's what made me cry.
Maybe.
I was just like, oh, that's like what my dad wants family to be like. And so I just like I was happy that he had that for a little bit. Like he's like looking, he's like watching how happy Rhaenyra and Damon are, and watching how they like all these newly betrothed couples with each other, and like there's like laughter and there's music. Woo, speaking of music though, let's talk about let's talk about, oh man, which brother is it?
Jacaerys dancing with
Jacaerys,
Helena.
Helena. I was like, ooh. He's like Egg's talking all this smack about everybody and like trying to sleep with other people's
You
betrothed.
know,
And he was like, let me take your wife on the dance floor.
but
I'm gonna
like
ask her for this dance.
it shows how different these boys are raised.
Mm-hmm.
Rhaenyra's kids haven't been jumping up to fight. They like he controlled himself when he jumped up and slammed the table. He controlled himself. He reined it in.
Mm-hmm.
Aegon cannot. Aemon, look, he was just standing there like an idiot, like just stood up too, like kind of
I
after
think
the
he was
fact.
waiting. I think he was like,
Oh
either
yeah, he
waiting for
wanted
an
to fight.
opportunity, but either waiting to fight or he's had this speech in his back pocket.
But remember, he stood up
Mm-hmm.
but like kind of he stood up kind of after the commotion was over. And
Yeah.
then after Jace gave a speech, he sat back down. So he was
Mm-hmm.
just standing there for no reason. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a lot of siblings. It's like he was
Stance.
standing there.
Yeah. I was like, what could he do? Could he like, okay, wait, now I look dumb.
Right.
Okay, let me
I
just
guess I'll
sit
sit
down.
back
I
down.
I got nothing to say. And because I think that he wanted to see, because he was ready to fight if Jacaerys had said something,
Yeah.
right?
But Jacaerys
If
knew
he had
better.
taken the bait. But he was like, no, 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 because Jacaerys is like his mom and knows how to take the high road and knows how to be kingly.
And I
And
get the feeling they probably love Viserys more than Viserys's own sons do.
oh yeah, I'm sure
Aegon and Aemon don't seem to give a shit about
they
Viserys.
know he's a rotting old man who is, I mean, I'm sure that it's not they don't I think that they can't take him seriously, even though he is the king, because he is willfully ignoring the fact that his other grandchildren are bastards and they are the heirs to the throne and they're true-born sons and they should be next in line. So how could I'm sure there's like, you know, a lot of
Yeah,
hatred there because of that.
yeah,
But both of those children make horrible kings.
absolutely.
Blech. Also, I did like Helena's toast.
I was
Putting
just about to say, poor Helena again.
her
It's
husband
not
in
so
his
bad.
place.
But
It's
that's the
like,
thing. I don't even think she was meaning to. I think she was being completely sincere. Like,
and
it's not
Otto.
so bad. It's not so bad. They just mostly ignores you till he's had wine.
Yeah.
I don't think she was trying to make a joke. And then the way she sat down, she's just
She
like,
said that she's like proud of
yeah,
herself. But and
like,
you that was
yeah,
like
I did
that
it.
was like for me the only redeeming moment that Otto had because he was like, oh, okay, cute. And he like and I was like, okay, you love your granddaughter.
And she
Uh
looks so proud of herself for giving a speech.
yeah.
She's just so
He's
airy.
like, I'm gonna do it
Yeah, it's like
too.
what is going on inside that head of hers? Beware the beast beneath the boards.
That's what's going on. Maybe she's covering her eyes because she's having visions.
No, she covered her ears.
I'm sorry, her ears.
She's
Wait,
having
wait.
autitory. Yeah, when Vaemon's head got cut off, she covered her ears
Right,
instead
right,
of
right,
her
right, right,
eyes.
right, right, right.
She's having auditory hallucinations.
Poor girl. What's the beast beneath the boards, though?
I don't know.
Because then they brought like the dinner in, and I was like, well, it's not. And then the fight started, but I don't know.
Let's talk about that in the spoilers actually, because I do kind of have an idea, but
Okay.
it would be hella spoilery.
Okay.
Just let me make a note of that
Yeah.
so I don't forget this time.
What does that say? Father, son. Oh, and I did like the shot where it's like you see they like pull back from the table and you see Viserys and Aemond, and it's just like they both got the one eye, the eye patch, the mask situation going on. He and like father, like son, both missing an eye. The way it was rotted through all the way to the socket too, though. Jeez.
And the jaw, like you could see
So
the
like the
tendons.
tendons. Ooh, I wonder how long that makeup took. Ooh.
After the strong speech, Aemon's speech, calling them such
Waiting,
strong
but
boys.
waiting for Viserys to go to bed before he opened his mouth too, though. That
Mm.
conniving little shit.
So he had all that to say. The poor, strong boys clearly cannot fight. They got just, first of all, Aemon completely ate the punch. His head barely turned.
Mm,
And he shoved Jace down like he was a toddler.
yeah. It's like this dude is so strong.
Aemon doesn't look like he even trains anymore. And he's just slammed Luke down on the table like it was nothing to. Granted, he is much older,
Yeah.
but still, like there was like no defense. And
Mm-mm.
once again, like nobody's teaching these boys how to fight.
That's what I don't get.
But Dame Aemond was all sass until Damon stood up
Mm-hmm.
and he no longer wanted that smoke.
Nope. And he's like, dude, my children, you guys chill. But
Like,
no,
sure,
no,
you
no,
can
no.
fight, but this is Damon.
Yeah. We all know Uncle D. Oh man. It's so crazy. Although I'm just like, when's the last time Damon fought anyone? Has he really still got it?
I mean, he just cut off a man's head earlier that day with one strike. So I
That's
imagine
Stark's
he's still
sister.
training.
Yeah.
It is
Then why
Dark's
aren't you
sister.
training your children? I just don't understand.
Yeah, I
Why
would
are these boys?
imagine that, he's Daemon Targaryen. I don't think he's ever gonna stop training.
Yeah.
The Prince of Flea Bottom. He could have absolutely found somebody to train them kids. I don't even know. And Allison now, after Rhaenyra's speech and after the fight with the boys too,
Mm,
I believe she was sincere in the things she
me
was saying to
too.
Rhaenyra from that point on.
I think so too. And then I thought it was a really nice callback to the way that they were holding each other's hands, the way they used to hold each other's hands when they were
Hmm.
children. I
Yeah.
was like, "Aw."
And Otto did not look like he liked it when she's like,
Mm-mm.
Rhaenyra, when Rhaenyra gets up, and Otto's kind of looking at her like, bitch, what the fuck?
Yeah. I thought we had this figured out already. Like, what
He
are you
thinks he
doing?
thinks she's going soft again.
Masaria's back.
And Talia is a spy.
Mm, I was trying to figure out who she was. I was like, who is that
That's
girl?
Allison's handmaiden for the last
Allison's handmaid.
however many years.
Okay, because I looked at her twice and I didn't recognize her.
I recognized her because of the ponytail thrown over her shoulder.
Hmm. So wait, is she the one who brought
The tea.
the tea and the serving girl in?
Yes, and she's been
Okay,
her serving girl like throughout all of this.
got it. Okay, I didn't recognize her at all. Clearly, I didn't pay no attention to the small.
Neither do they. Neither do they. But yeah, so okay, so what are the implications of this? How long has Talia been a spy? What exactly is
Mm-hmm.
she spying for? What does Massaria want to know?
Mm-hmm.
And what is it that she's reporting back that Aegon's a rapist?
Yeah, and what's coming to well, more than I don't know if it's that or more than that. And how did she come to be in her service? Is this somehow auto related?
She's been in her service for a long time. Because
Yeah,
there was an episode a while back where she's like, Talia, not now. Oh, when she was having the meeting with Laris, and the servant girl comes in and she goes, Talia, not
no,
now.
no, 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 no. I mean Massaria,
Oh,
not
oh,
Elsa.
Massaria.
Yeah, like how did she come to be?
But
Oh, the
why
white
would
lines.
Otto need to spy on Allison?
Not spying on Allison, but um, just maybe he was like, oh, this. I don't know. I don't know. I'm like really wondering how that came to be. Because what's a good girl like that from the castle doing in a brothel in the first place, or wherever she is? Because like
Well,
clearly her status has
she doesn't
improved.
do brothel work anymore. She
No, I
sells
know that she's
secrets.
like running. Oh, I don't know why I still think she's running a brothel.
No, I don't think she was running the brothel. I think she just has her mats and she sells secrets.
I like her man's.
Yeah, that balcony was what's up.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
again, why does Massaria need to be spying? And maybe it's not specifically Allison, maybe it's just the castle in
just
general,
castle's
because as a
goings on.
servant, yeah, as a servant, she's gonna see all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm. I should just like let me know when Damon's back.
Well, we can talk about that in the spoiler section too. Not about
Hmm.
Damon coming back, but like
But yeah.
why Massaria might be invested or what this could mean later. But yeah, why is Talia spying? I wanna know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-mm.
All right. Viserys's last words, not all of not the very, very last words, but
Mm.
is this one of the points where you cried?
No, I didn't cry. I was frustrated.
Because he thought he was talking to Rhaenyra and Alicent's
Yes.
willfully obtuse ass was like, tell me more. Like, when
Yes.
did he ever talk to you about a dream, Alicent?
Yeah. I'm like, you obviously didn't know because, and I was like, well, obviously, okay. So Viserys is on the milk of the poppy, and the last time that he spoke to somebody in the middle of the night, it was Rhaenyra. So he probably thinks that Rhaenyra came back to check on him after the dinner, blah, 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 blah. But it's not. It's Alicent making sure that he's fine. And it was sweet because she got in a bed with him. She's holding his hand. Like he just must smell awful. Um
She was holding his hand throughout the dinner too. That was sweet.
And I thought, and like that made me like her a little more. I was laughing just now because I remember somebody on Twitter that said that like Viserys had the whole table smell like pig's feet.
Oh.
They're
Uh,
so rude. Um, but yeah, like it's a mix up. So he probably thought it was Rhaenyra again, but like she's not like, oh, wait a second, what dream? Egon, what? And I was just wrote, no, not this misinterpretation. He's trying to set things right. And he says that at the dinner. He says that throughout. He's been saying it forever. He's like, he's trying to set things right. Every time he tries to set things right, he fucks it up.
but it's like I think that she was having a willful misinterpretation because one, it's he didn't really say anything clear in that speech.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't say, I want Aegon to be my heir. You know, she picked out Aegon and Prince and Unite the Realm and just ran with it. And I think for her, she spent this night maybe doubting herself and her plots
Mm-hmm.
to make Aegon the heir and feeling bad about it, and then
Yeah.
was looking for something to reaffirm her position.
Mm-hmm. Maybe. Maybe. I think that she was definitely confused about what he was talking about.
Right.
And I think
It was
that
confusing what he was saying.
because it was because he's like Egon, he's like our son, and she's like
But it's like,
dream, a
but it's
song
like
of,
of
and I'm
all the
like,
names, you
but
know
you've
that there's
never heard
so many Aegons.
so many Egons, like the Egon, but also you've never ever heard him mention a song of ice and fire. So like, why would you think this has anything to do with you? Like, I believe it to be true. And he's just like, yes, it's just
And if
to take that
Rhaenyra
information
learned
and run with it. Oh,
if Rhaenyra learned that quickly, he doesn't always know who he's talking to, then Alicent should have known.
she
You know,
absolutely
she knows.
she knows.
But I think it was like, whether it was conscious or not, it was a willful misinterpretation.
She was like, oh, okay.
She believed it meant what she wanted it to mean.
I think, yeah, yeah. Because it's just like you've gone through that. He was absolutely lucid. He reaffirmed who he wanted to be heir and like all of these things. And so why would he and the crazy thing is like, why would he suddenly change his mind when you know that he's drugged up?
And it's like he literally just left a dinner where he affirmed his position
Yeah.
about wanting everyone to get along. He did not change his mind. He reaffirmed things that day in court. So why now all of a sudden would he have changed his mind?
You know, it just reminded me of a little bit of uh of Ned and Robert on Robert's deathbed. Where he's like, can't tell you. He's like, oh, this is oh God. Come back to me. It's gone now. Um,
Are you thinking of John's? Not John, yeah, John Aaron's deathbed? When he's like,
John
the
Aaron.
seed is strong.
No, but that's, I mean, I love these deathbed things, and that gives me Stormlight Archive too. But
Like, why couldn't he just say Joffrey's not his real son?
yeah. No, not John Aaron's deathbed, where where he's got where he has Robert sign the thing and then Cersei tears it up.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. When he
Yeah.
changes the wording
Change it.
to
Yeah, yeah,
rightful
yeah.
heir instead of
So
my son
rightful.
Joffrey, he changed it to
Yes,
rightful heir.
exactly. Thank you for remembering.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so it reminded me a little bit of that. And that's kind of like what she's doing. She's like that. I mean, that's essentially what she's doing, right? It's like, oh, rightful heir, not my son. Um, and so it reminded me of that, but it's just like, come on, dude. Like, I was not that I was starting to like you again, but like you had a chance to do the right thing. Like, you're really gonna misinterpret this on purpose to be in favor of a son that you know is a rapist. Like, you can't actually want him to be king. He's awful. How does that help the realm if your
Right.
shitty son is a king?
Yeah. How would Aegon unite the realm? How? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she was willfully misinterpreting it. And also, his very, very last words were, my love. And it
Mm.
made me think, on the way out, he saw Emma
He's
again.
reaching for Emma. Yeah, he's like reaching out because he's like, she talks and he's like, no more. And I cried. He's
So
like,
much
no
pain.
more. He's just like, no more. And then I was like crying. And then he's like reaching out, reaching out, reaching out. And then, he breathes. And then they cut to black.
And so he gets
What
to
a
be with his Emma, who he never stopped
he
loving.
never stopped loving her. Uh what a powerful performance. Just like hit like
Patty
throughout the entire
Considine
episode.
has done great.
Oh my gosh.
If you
Like all
watched
the
the
awards.
recap, did you watch the recap before the episode?
Yes.
And so to look at him there when he's
Mhm.
healthy and just his pinky's jacked up,
Right.
to look at him now, my God, the transformation.
Yeah. I have to go back and watch it because I skipped the recap on my second watch it, but I watched it before I first watched the episode. But I wasn't making that connection. Like basically we're getting his greatest hits.
Yeah.
Um, But
Has
just
seen his best and
wow.
his worst.
Wow. Just so just oh man, that throne room entrance was everything.
He was going through it. You want to talk some spoilers? Because that's pretty much the whole episode.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to throw in before we do spoilers?
And now his watch has ended.
And now his watch has ended. Spoiler time.
Spoilers.
If you don't want spoilers, it's almost time to leave. Before you go, don't forget to read The Gilded Ones by Namino Forna and
Mm-hmm.
join us October 16th
Yes.
at 2 p.m. for our book club chat about it. That is 2 p.m. Eastern. And
Eastern.
on our YouTube channel, A Thousand Eyes in One podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And now we go into spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, spoiler time.
Spoiler time. Spoiler time. We need a spoiler jingle.
We
Maybe
should
I'll make
make
like a synthy one since I'm all into synthesizers right now.
one.
All right. First
I
spoiler
will,
thing. Huh?
I was gonna say, I will say I feel I'm having a hard time remembering stuff from Fire and Blood.
Yeah,
So
I there's a lot of things I don't remember either because it's been so long since I reread it, which was on purpose. But there are a few things I remember, a lot of just general things.
mm-hmm.
For example, I know that Lord Beesbury is the first to be killed, and his death is the first death
Mm,
because he stands up for
I remember.
Rhaenyra in that council
Yeah.
meeting that they have.
Mm-hmm,
And so
mm-hmm.
now that we've seen him be kind of senile, we've seen him be kind of clueless. So I wonder what he's going to be like in that meeting when he
Yeah.
stands up for her, that, like, for him to be killed over it.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in how that's going to go. I think that's next episode. Um, what other thing did I want to say that was kind of spoilery?
Massaria?
Oh, yes, Masara. Oh, actually, first Helena.
Helena. Okay, go ahead.
Beware the beast beneath the boards.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Blood and cheese.
Oh, I think I saw something about that on Twitter too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought blood and
Yeah.
cheese, the beast beneath the board, because they know all the little nooks and crannies of the castle and
Mhm.
can come up and, do what they did. We all
Wow.
know what that is. If you know who
Yeah.
blood and cheese are, you know what they did.
Yeah. Whew.
No need to say it.
That shit is so gangster and
It's
so awful.
horrible. It is
But
just
whew.
horrible.
I remember the first time I read that, I was like, yo.
Yeah. 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 We don't even need to say what it is because
Yeah,
if you're in
no.
the spoiler section, you already know, I
You
hope.
already, yeah. And if you don't, read
Then
Fire and Blood.
yeah, please do. Um Now Missaria, I wondered if the spying with Talia is kind of keeping her up to date because you mentioned Damon
Mm-hmm.
coming back because she eventually works with Damon and I
Yeah.
think she might be the one who secured blood and cheese, but I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
But she does work with Damon. Um, so I wonder if Talia's spying is what's going to kind of give the insight to how Massaria ends up knowing so much about what's going on and how she has, insider at the
Mm-hmm.
castle,
Right. Yeah,
so she can feed Damon information.
that makes sense.
That was the other thing I thought of. And then with Aemond and Damon, my other spoiler thing I wanted to say is how Aemond wanted no smoke with Damon, but later on they have their dragon fight. Do you remember that over the God's Eye?
Yeah,
And
I
he
do.
rams
Yeah.
Dark Sister through his eye, and then
Yeah.
both dragons crash. I am so looking forward to that, especially now that we see his body language and his
Mm-hmm.
facial acting. Like he's such a dick, and Damon is too. And it's like they're just gonna have a dick off.
Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, his balls dropped the day that he rode Vagar, and just like it was just impossible to deal with ever since.
Yeah, I wonder if Aemond has lovers at all.
Why wouldn't he?
I don't know because he's just so crazy and just maybe just trains all the time.
Yeah,
I
but I
just
feel
can't
like he would
imagine him
like
being tender to somebody.
Who said he needed to be
Well, I
tender?
said lovers,
Oh, lovers.
not
Okay.
that he
Not
visits,
his
the
like
brothel.
the brothel. Okay.
Because like
Tender.
they're at an age where they should be betrothed, where he should be betrothed.
He should be,
Aegon's
yeah.
married already. He's
Yeah.
not that much younger.
Hmm. But who are they? Oh, I mean, I'm trying to think of who they would marry him to, who's a suitable match for him.
I'm sure they could find somebody, a Lannister or something. There's always a ton of those.
Mm. What was the thing that,
Another family in Old Town.
yeah, they would want to keep him around because he's so fierce. What was I gonna say? What was the thing we were talking about earlier that you said was kind of spoilery about
Oh, about them
Daemon?
not telling Rhaenyra that
Oh,
Viserys
right, that
died.
Viserys died. Yeah,
Yeah, I think that was a little bit spoilery only because I don't think it's known right now that they're not going to tell
that
Rhaenyra
they're
he
not gonna
died.
tell her. Yeah.
So that's why I was saying I think that might be
Oh,
spoilery.
so sad. I'm so excited. It was such a good episode. I think I was just like in a very emotionally vulnerable place yesterday also, but I just so powerful, such good acting.
Hmm.
Everyone is just I feel like everyone is a really good actor in the show.
I will
There's
say
no
I
one's
liked the old Aegon better than
Yeah,
the young Aegon better than the current Aegon.
I don't know why I felt like they could have kept him because this guy doesn't look that much older.
Yeah.
And I missed his long hair.
Yeah. He doesn't, and
First,
I feel like
I did at first I didn't know who he was.
I feel like they managed to kind of find people who kind of look like the younger ones with the boys, but
Hmm.
not Aegon.
Yeah, exactly. When they first, if she hadn't called him out by his name, I wouldn't have known who he was.
Right.
They were like, "Oh, this is a cousin or or somebody." Um, yeah, yeah, I agree. I feel like I miss old Egon. I would have liked to see him come into his own as a, but also, I don't think I would have believed him as a rapist.
The other
This one,
one?
yeah, the other one I wouldn't believe. This one I do. I buy it. I buy it. The other one, I don't know.
Well, those were my only spoiler things that I wanted to just kind of briefly mention, not necessarily a huge discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Anything from your part?
No, I just like I'm really excited about the next episode, and I'm sad that there are only two left. And I'm like
It feels like it's
I'm
gone
so
by so
enjoying it.
fast. Feels like it's gone by so fast, right?
I don't feel like it's gone by fast. I feel like yes, because yes, like I can't believe we're at the end. I can't believe like we were planning things, and I can't believe it's like just a couple weeks away. But I feel like I have thoroughly enjoyed and kind of savored every moment of it.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
feel very fulfilled by it. And maybe it's because we waited for so long to have
Yeah,
something
that's true.
good come out. Hmm.
Well, if that's it for spoilers, then we can wrap up. To find previous episodes, go to thousandeyespodcast.com. You can also find us on YouTube, A Thousand Eyes in One Podcast. And if you'd like to follow us on social media, we're on Twitter as Thousand Eyes One, Facebook and Instagram, A Thousand Eyes in One. If you're interested in our speculative fiction book club, that is Wine on an Empty Stomach on Instagram. I've been Tanya.
I'm always Nikki.
And we'll talk to you next time.